And now, and also during that time, you had some kids.
Yeah.
And, you met the mother of your kids, and she wanted to go to school. And so you took off some time to just...
Yeah, I pretty much put my musical career on hold,
to take care of your kids.
Yeah.
And, one of the paragraphs that you wrote in here is awesome. Talking about your kids, and you say, and this is something I completely related to, I'll tell you, the first time I looked down at the other end of the mats and saw my boys training, it was one of the greatest moments of my life. My youngest son spent his birthday at the academy with George St. Pierre and all the rest of the fellas. My eldest son had his birthday there with all the Gracies and about 30 kids, a full house, and a cake with the Henzo Gracie Academy logo on it. My sons have grown up with Henzo like an uncle. Igor, Halls, Gregor, Daniel, Neiman, all the guys treat my boys like family. They've known their instructor, Magno Gamma, since birth. He came to the hospital to see them hours after they were born, and Henzo they have known since they were days old. My eldest and I have been on Greyhound buses in the middle of the night, traveling hours away to represent RGA and Team Henzo Gracie. I have competed with my sons at nationally ranked grappling, submission, and jiu-jitsu events. One of my proudest moments was when we both competed at the same event. My son took first place in his division, and I took second place in the expert masters division in the 30 to 35-year-old age bracket, although I was 44. Henzo joked when he first saw my son, "This is the proof that even though the fruit is rotten, the seed can still be good." That's, yeah. we all know that one. And, I guess it's when you see your kid doing anything that you love doing, and get to see your kid do it. Echo, you got that in your future. When you see your kid, you see your daughter on the mat right now. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. When you see your kid like training, and I'm to the point right now. My son's a big kid. He's 14, but I can roll with him, man. Like I legit, can roll with him.
He's taller than me.
Yeah,
dude, my 14-year-old's 6 foot, $180.
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
Me.
Yeah. And it's awesome when you get to train. And the other thing I noticed, I surf, and with my son, as good as it feels to surf, there's a really good feeling when you surf. As good as that feels, it feels just as good, if not better, to be paddling back out after catching a wave and see my son just getting after it. It's just, it's so awesome. It's like sometimes you sit there and watch. I was like watching him, and you try to like contain yourself, but
groovy.
It's just it's just so awesome. It's so cool. And you see, and I got a bunch of daughters too, and seeing them do when you see your kids kicking ass at stuff, man.
It makes you feel fucking good, Yeah, I mean, you see them doing positive shit, especially, man, because God knows, I've done so much negative shit that when I see my kids doing something positive, it makes me feel really good.
Going back to the book, talking about your dad, my father died from a fire. So your father, and we didn't talk about him much. He'd gone away, and then he'd had intermittent contact with you over the years.
Well, actually, once he was out of my life, when my mom left him when I was real young, I never saw him again, and I only actually spoke to him twice on the phone. I got one letter from him, and it was 1 or 2 pages and a cassette of him playing guitar in a halfway house, and basically just apologizing a lot, and yeah, he knew he made a lot of bad choices, but it's fucked up though, because he was all, he was fucked up on heroin, and he was an alcoholic, and he actually kicked my mother in the stomach when she was very pregnant with me, and Yeah, that's how much he didn't want me. So, you know, it's a hard pill to swallow, you know, when your father would rather be strung out on heroin than be your father. But I've managed to turn it around, you know, because I love being with not just my kids, but I teach the kids at the Enzo Gracie Academy. And so the childhood that I didn't really have, I get to experience and live vicariously through all these other kids, and I get to be a role model to them, whereas I didn't have any. And, you know, I'm teaching these little boys and little girls how to defend themselves and how to fight and have honor and how to lose with honor, and always to shake their opponent's hand and say good job, whether they win or whether they lose, and how to have that respect for their opponent as well as themselves. You know, when I teach these kids that, you know, like they say in jiu-jitsu, there's no losing in jiu-jitsu. You win or you learn. Mm-hmm. And when I can take a kid who, you know, I've worked with a lot of kids who have, you know, varying degrees of spectrum disorders, whether they've had autism or physical issues, and to see the improvement that they make, not just at jiu-jitsu, but in their social skills. You know, kids who are so insecure that they won't look at you, and now they're making eye contact with you, talking to you,
it's a life changer.
At your face and shaking your hand, and their chest is out and their shoulders are back and they're not all, you know, that, you know, so where I didn't have certain things, you know, at the end of the day, it gave me something else. It gave me the ability to value that relationship that you can have with children that a lot of people take for granted. I even get disappointed with a lot of the parents that bring their kids to jiu-jitsu, because I feel like, you know, a lot of people hand their kids off to everybody else to teach them how to do everything. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't work on stuff at home with them. They don't sit there and teach them. I get, you know, when you have a kid that doesn't know how to do a fucking jumping jack, you're like, what the fuck do your parents do with you? They don't roll around with you. They don't teach you how to do a somersault. I have to teach you which is your left and your right hand. Mm-hmm. Like, really? You know? I don't think people value that time enough. And I have said it before. It's like, you know, your job your career may change several times in your life. Your spouse may not be your spouse forever, but your kids are always going to be your kids. So you really have to cherish and value that and the time that you spend with them, because they'll always be your kids. You know, that woman that you think you're in love with may leave you. You may fall out of love. Your job may, you know, fold. But your kids are going to be your kids forever, and they'll always need you, even if it's just emotionally, to know that you're there, even if they're not seeing you every year or every 6 months, or even if you don't speak to them, you still have to be an emotional and spiritual backbone, even from afar, you know. And I mean, I forgive you, Dad.
Yeah. You, when he died, you actually flew down to Texas to, basically
to bury him.
And
that was cool too. I got to finally meet his mother and learn about my father's side of the family. So there was some closure in that. But I buried him myself. I wouldn't let anybody throw dirt on top of him. And as it turned out, I wound up burying my mom too with my youngest son.
You're now, you were kind of wrapping up this book when you were writing it, and you kind of closed it out, and when you closed it out, you said this in the end of the book. I guess part of being a father is learning how to eat a certain amount of shit. You do it for your kids because they need you. You just throw a little salt and pepper and maybe some Tabasco and smile because you got to be there for them. One thing my father said was, I've got all these years of experiences that I don't know what to do with. And that's kind of how I feel with my boys. How do I come in for a graceful landing after so much fucking turbulence in my life? Hopefully I can guide them better than I was guided, or at least maybe they will learn from my mistakes. God knows I've made enough for everybody.